We have already learned about several chips, say starting from, I think maybe if I itemize that, 0th item would probably be a 7-segment display. I may not call it an IC, so I'm putting that on 0. Then a 7-segment display, if you recall, we are using something called a common anode type. There is other kind of display called common cathode type. So hopefully you recall. So what is the other IC? I mean, maybe the first IC that you have encountered? Anyone can unmute and tell me.
7447.
7447, that is 7-segment display driver. Okay, BCD to 7-segment display driver. So this is for common anode. You are having a counterpart 7448 for driving common cathode. Okay, so then the next one. Tell me. You can tell me one by one. I will write. I mean, need not have to stop and all. 7447. Then what you have connected with 7447 to see that the display is changing.
7490.
7493 and 90. I mean, both email list.
9390 both.
Right. So what is the difference? This is 4-bit binary counter, so all 16 states are there, whereas this is a decade counter. Other than that, then
74273.
273 along with, okay, let 273. Okay, let me. So other than 273, any other register you have used? There is something called 173374. I do not know, but anyway, 273 you have used. 7483 you must have used. What is that? Do you recall?
Chip resistor.
The adder.
No, 7483 is adder. 7483 is adder. Okay. Any other IC that you have used maybe in the same experiment? You did addition and subtraction, right? 7495 we did for multiplication. Before that we used another IC. 748. Though I think I may not list it, because if I try to list such IC, then there will be so many. 7486. Do you remember what it is? How did you subtract?
XOR gates.
So maybe, I mean, when I'm listing them, for example, I could have listed this 93 and 90 together, saying that, okay, it's a sort of counter. Similarly, maybe 273, other registers you have not used, say 173, 373, 374, this I can put in a different category. Similarly, 7483, there is another IC called 74183. By any chance you know about that? There was actually an experiment which we have skipped. So if time permits, I think sometimes we will just go for that. So I mean, if you are already having something, something means your simulator.
So it's a decoder, right?
183 is not really a decoder. Anybody who is, I mean, using the simulator right now can tell me what it is. I don't know how many of you are still joining with your phone. No one? Nobody is working with the simulator. What happened? None of you can open the simulator. Everybody joined with your phone or something, or it takes time. I think some of you tried to unmute, so please unmute and say. Anyway, so that experiment, if time permits, then sometimes will pick up. That is an ALU. You know what is an ALU, right?
Yeah, arithmetic logic. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe whatever experiment we carried out with 7483, we can just extend that one. So if time permits, sometimes we will do that. So anyway, and when we are solving such challenge problem, I'm not sure whether you are looking for some other IC which you are not referring to. For example, in yesterday's session, we are not discussing, I just suggested that have you checked anytime 7485, there is some IC. So anyone has used that 7485 in any of your solving challenge problems? Either say yes or say no. I mean, don't spend much time because. So once again, if you are having this simulator running, then probably quickly you can see that 7485 is a magnitude comparator. So a 4-bit comparator. If you give two 4-bit numbers, it will say whether one number is less than or equal to or greater than the other one. So in some cases, you may find particularly say when you need to compare two numbers for maybe a BCD addition or whatever reason. So sometimes you find that, okay, it is coming more handy because otherwise I think though 7486, it contains a single IC contains 4 XOR gates. But what I find that your simulator is actually counting each of these or XOR gates as a single component. So for students version, I guess there is a limit 40 or 50. What is that limit? If anybody has encountered, what is the maximum number of anyone has encountered that limit is getting crossed, particularly while solving challenge problem? Anyway, no one is saying once again anything. So in that case, maybe if you try to use XOR gates for equality checking and maybe another OR gate or AND gate, whatever. So in place of that, if you directly use 7485, maybe 4-bit comparison, it will count a single component. So sometimes you may just check those things out. So anyway, today we would just, and certainly I think along with 7486, maybe other basic gates like 7400, 7402, 7404. Probably by this time you have also memorized the numbers, right? 7400, what it is? Please unmute quickly and say.
And NAND gates.
7400 is NAND, quad NAND gate. Okay. 7401 is quad NAND gate, but it's called open collector. I don't know. In some class, possibly we discussed what is open collector. Then 7402.
NOR.
7403 is, I guess, open collector once again. 7404.
Not.
Not yet.
7404 is not or inverter. Okay. So that is fine, I think. Now, yeah. So I think while I was making the list, it is the attendance increased. So I think now we can start actually today's discussion. So at some point of time, I think we will add some chip, which is a RAM chip. So how to interface a RAM, that is actually quite important in making many systems. So what is the full form? Probably it has not yet been discussed in the theory class, but at least the full form you know, and a little bit about its functionality.
Randomly accessible memory.
Random access memory. So it's a kind of memory, and there is possibly other kind of memory also. People often quote two names together, RAM and what else?
ROM.
RAM and ROM. So what is the basic difference between these two in one word or a single sentence?
Once you have stored data in a ROM, you cannot change it, like generally speaking. The users cannot change it.
And
or alter it.
And RAM, I can alter it, right?
Yeah, the users can alter it.
And something more severe, I mean, maybe you have understated that. Say, for a PROM, there is something called a PROM, a programmable ROM. You can change.
Yeah. Like, but the users can't do that, right? But that is will be done by someone who is programming that.
But RAM is completely volatile, right? If you switch off the power, unlike other classes of those ROM, PROM,
it cannot store the data.
Right. So once you switch off the power, it forgets everything. So it happens many times in the lab that when you are actually working on the breadboard with powers, I mean the actual power and then the actual chip. Then while you are doing this, probably lab staff has already instructed you that, okay, while changing a chip or do something, do some extra connection, switch off the power, otherwise there might be a chance of getting short circuit, or sometimes there is a sparking, etc. that may damage some of the chips. So you pick up the habit till you reach this point, maybe 6th or 7th experiment, that you switch off the power by the time, when you are changing any of the circuit components or making a new connection. But in RAM, I think that has becoming a problem, because once you program a RAM, then suddenly if you switch it off, it forgets everything. But anyway, so today, whether the attendance improved, yeah, a little bit. So now maybe, so in the lab, the chip that you use is the type number 2114. So as you can see that it is not a 74 series chip. So the technology is slightly different. It is not TTL, it's a CMOS or NMOS chip rather. So without going into those details, because we will be simulating that. So let us first discuss what is basically a RAM from its functional point of view, as well as, if I look at it like a black box, then what are the input or output terminals, what are the control signals, etc. Because probably memory has not yet been taken in the theory, right? So maybe if I can think of that one, that so should I discuss a little bit about RAM, or you know what is a basic memory structure? If I draw a black box, so from your concept about memory, would you be able to say what are the probable connections going to that? It can be input, it can be output, it can be control. So anything if you can say.
Data in, data out address.
So we don't know about
enable.
Okay, so maybe rather than guessing, I tell you a little bit. Once again, in theory class, it will be discussed at length. So let me not go into that much detail. Just for using this one, what we need to know, I am only discussing about that really. So it is, for example, let me take this example only. That I was listing the kind of ICs that you have used in your lab class and all. So if I suppose think of a ruled exercise book that you often use for taking notes, etc. So there are several lines in it, and so on. So consider this one to be a page in your copy with several lines. And there might be multiple pages also. Suppose I'm just looking at one page. So now think about this one as the line number. Maybe the line number starts with 0, whatever I have written, 0, 1, 2. So whatever the total number of lines in one page, let us assume that many lines are, I have not drawn them, but there are that many lines. Now in every line, I have written the number of some IC. Okay. So if I ask you that, okay, what is written on, say, line number 5? So you can just look into this, that which one is line number 5, and then what is written, you just spell it out, that okay, 7483 is written on that. So this line number by which we are referring to a specific content, that whatever is written, I could have written something else also here, right? But the line number remains same, that it remains 5th line. So this one, whatever I have written as this index or indices 0, 1, 2, 3, we will call in memory terminology, or in that jargon, we used to call it address. So as addresses, they help us to find out a location. So it is exactly like this, that this address will tell us which line we are referring to. And now here, whatever we have written is basically called the data. So I can write something on a particular line, so and refer to that particular line or refer to that particular data in that line by the corresponding address. And certainly, I think I can change them. Suppose I can erase it and I can rewrite something. So if it is a RAM, I can really do that. So a RAM is having several such locations. So what is meant by location? Now here, each of these lines, I will call a particular location. So a particular location is indicated by a unique address. So the range of total address, that depends on, if I consider just say one page, then maybe that page contains 32 lines. So then I say that, okay, the total number of locations, that is 32. If I consider the whole book, then there might be 1,000 such lines. So then I say that, okay, the whole book contains 1,000 addresses. Now, in each of these line, how much data I can write, that depends typically on the length of the line, that, okay, for example, how many characters I will be able to write. So in case of a RAM that we will be using, since it works in the binary domain, we will be able to write only in binary numbers, rather than, I mean, here I have written some alphanumeric character display or something. So it is not like that. In a formal RAM memory, we have to write only in terms of bits. So depending on the number of bits that I can write on a particular line, I will say that a line, or sometimes it is called a word. So a particular word can hold that many bits. So the width of the line, in other words, I may say that how many bits I can write in one such location, that is called the width of the data. So as I think from the name you will be able to understand. So there are two things when I talk about any memory or any particular chip in specifically. I have to tell two things. One is how many locations are there. So I may say how many addresses are there. They are basically the same thing, that this many locations, and each location, what is the width of that. So certainly I think the number of address lines and this width of data, they are two independent things, right? So suppose, as I say, that maybe a particular page is having 32 lines. Once again, since the address will also be in the binary domain, I can only mention about a specific address in a binary system. So if I say 32 address locations are there, how many bits I need to address them uniquely, a specific location? If there are 32 such locations, how many 5 bits I need to indicate a specific line or to denote the address. And then the width of the data, that doesn't have anything to do with that 5-bit or whatever. It depends on the capacity of the memory, that, okay, how many bits I can write in every line. So if I look at this block, let's say that, okay, this is a RAM block. So it will be having several address lines depending on its capacity. So I'm just putting several dots to indicate that, okay, there might be many such lines. So I will call them address lines, or sometimes referred as address bus. Yeah, mostly I think you are from electrical, so you know what is a bus. So what is the definition of a bus? Please unmute and say anyone. Parth is unmuted, I think. Parth Saraf?
Yes, sir.
So what is meant by a bus?
So bus is like a collection of sources. So from where the signal comes.
In your domain, I think you are from electrical, right?
Yes, sir.
So you used to call power bus. So what is that? There is no signal as such, but maybe a collection of conductors, right? So here, because there are so many incoming lines or the conductors, we used to call them a bus. If it is a single line, I will say a single bit signal here. So sometimes it is called address bus or address lines, by whatever way. And this RAM, it should have some data lines also. So width of the data line, that is independent of the number of address bus, certainly. So this will be the data line, or sometimes referred as data bus. So when we typically connect it to conductors, we used to call it bus. With respect to the RAM, we may simply say address pins or address lines. So bus might not be a completely appropriate terminology when I talk about the chip, but when I connect it on the system, someone else is issuing the address from, maybe I can connect a counter which will go through all the addresses. Then I may call those lines as the address bus. So anyway, this is the data lines or data bus. So I'm just writing and cutting it out, that maybe data lines or whatever. But other than that, do you think there could be any more lines required for its operation? I require
Data
address to, okay. So now in most of the RAMs, I think there are exceptions as well. In most of the RAMs, you will find that these lines are bidirectional. So address is certainly something input to the RAM, right? While the other one, that is the data line, because for RAM, I need to write something first into the RAM. Then only I will be able to read it. right? Every time I switch on the power, it doesn't contain any significant data, any important data. I have to write the data first. Still the power remains on. I can access the data by looking into appropriate addresses. So this data bus, it is basically IO type is IO. IO means input or output. Whereas for address, what is the type? Tell me.
Input.
It is input. Okay. And as I think some of you are mentioning, in some RAM chips, you may find that this data for input and data for output, I mean, one is used for writing, another is used for reading, may be different. In that case, we call one of this data bus as write and one is for read. So read data bus and write data bus, something like this. But in this 2114, this data bus is, and many other RAM chip that typically we use, even in your computer, whatever you use, they are having bidirectional data bus. So this at times it can work as input, at times it can work as output. So when I am writing something, at that time, what should be the nature of that bus? Should it be input or should it be output?
Input.
At that time, it should be input, and when we are reading, at that time, it should be output. So I think you have got it correctly. Now,
Sir?
Yes.
So since the addresses are input, like can you set the like specific values of the addresses, or like why is it input that those address lines, like addresses should be fixed, right?
It is something like this. Suppose as I have already written this. So I would like to check you that, okay, whatever is written in line number 4. So then I will say that, okay, check the content at address 4. So then I am issuing the address whose value is 4. And now I'm expecting the data pertaining to what is written on that particular line. In this case, I mean, just if I take this example, it will give me the 74273, that number. But if I do not want this, if I want something else, I want to find out what is in 5, I will issue the address equal to 5, then I will get this data. Or if I want a complete list one by one sequentially, then I can as well connect a counter in the address bus, right? Suppose there are 32 lines, I connect a 5-bit counter which starts from 00 and goes like this. So sequentially, I will get all the contents one after the other. Got the point? Who was asking? Is it Orpon or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. I understood.
Okay. So what we would use that. What is the last experiment you carried out?
Sir, roll number experiment.
Roll number. Okay. So in roll number generation, what you did, you put a counter. What is that counter? 7490 or 93? Which counter you have used?
93.
93, but you require 10 state, right? So many of you must have used 90. Otherwise, for 93, you need a resetting of after 10 state. So anyone would do. So what you did with this counter, so counter that is having 4 output lines. So you have designed some combinatorial logic for that, isn't it? You have designed a combinatorial logic pertaining to your roll number, and then you have you must have fed it to a 7447 connected to a 7-segment display. So is that your structure? Anyone else has done? I think one of you most probably it's not visible. Is it visible where I'm drawing? So it will
Yes.
5 volt. Anyway, so most probably in one case, I do not remember, I think who it was, sent a mail saying that, okay, I have not designed a, so what is the width of this output line? Coming from your combinatorial logic to 7447? 4 bit. So it is having 4 bit of output going to 7447. So you need to solve 4 Karnaugh map essentially, which will be a 4 variable function. One of the student, I do not recall who it is, designed it in such a way so that he or she didn't have to use this 7447. Directly 7 lines are coming to this 7-segment display. So rather than making it in binary combination, he or she had done it along, I mean, in the line of displaying this A, B, C, D, E, F, G, those segments. So that requires a little bit of more calculation in terms of Karnaugh map rather than 7 Karnaugh maps need to be solved, but there is some commonality also, whatever the student has mentioned. So anyway, now it was impossible, almost impossible. I do not know whether anything has happened to copy anybody's design by anyone else, right? Because the roll numbers are distinct. So you really have to do it yourself. Your design you cannot share with any of your friends, as well as, I mean, you cannot use others' design as your own. So that is fine. But can I have a common design which will cater to everyone? So there, maybe the RAM comes handy. If I put the RAM in place of your combinational circuit, you got the point what I'm going to say? Can you complete my sentence? That if instead of your combinatorial block, if I have put a RAM, then how could I solve such a problem of, say, roll number display? If you get some idea, you can say. Need not be completely correct, but probably whatever I have said with that hint, you can tell.
So
yes.
in every 10 address lines, we can store a roll number, maybe. Like in every 10 locations, we store a roll number.
I cannot actually got that word. You are saying in every 10, so you want to repeat that after, depending on how many locations are there, so that it continuously display.
Or maybe if we have like 10 data pins, then maybe you can use just only one address location for one roll number.
No, think about that. What you needed, what you solved. You have solved for the counter, maybe the counter outputs, we'll call it something like DCBA.
Sir?
Yes.
So like when we will be using RAM, like we will be still using the counter, right? The display will periodically like display the characters of the roll number, right? Or like it will be like something different when we'll be using the RAM.
So let me just explain a little bit rather than this example, whatever we are giving with this line number and this IC number. So here in your actual RAM in 2114, it is actually a 1024 location RAM. So it sometimes used to say 1024 into 4 bit. So this means that it is having 1024 words. Words means in every location I'm referring to as in word, and each word is 4 bit wide. So it can really store 4096, that is the total number of bits, but organized in such a way so that one line means whatever you get under one address, one location, you can store 4 bits. Okay, so you can store a total of 1024 number of 4-bit codes, so to say. So this 4-bit, I mean, whatever I'm showing coming out of that RAM, whatever we are feeding into the 7447. So I'm just showing the data line like this, and 1024 means how many address lines will be there?
10
address lines. To the power 10 is 1024. Okay. So, but do I need to write continuously your roll number to all the 1024 lines? Suppose here I put that counter 7490. Okay, and there are other address lines as well. How many? 4 I have used, so there will be 6 more address lines. So
10 such no.
Okay, so let us see what will happen. Yes.
Sir, like in this RAM there will be 10 lines, right? So like what is the significance of the 1024? That I didn't understand.
A particular chip, that is the 2114 I am talking about. This chip, I am not talking about your roll number only. So such a chip can store 1024 words. Okay. Now what I mean by word? So 1024 words or 1024 locations are there, and each word is 4-bit wide. So 4-bit per word. Sometimes we write it like this. So each word is 4-bit wide, if I just try to access, let me take this example. So suppose this is your 2114. So I have made all the address lines 0, right? All the 10 address lines I made 0. So then what is the value? Value is 0. So it is pointing to the very first location of the memory whose address I refer as 0th location. So up to this point, is it clear what I am trying to refer by these address lines? So there will be such 1024 locations which can be uniquely addressed by those 10 address lines. First location, I will give a number 0. Second one, I will call 1, 2. In that way, last one, I will call 1023. So there are unique locations numbered 0 to 1023, which I can access by providing a 10-bit code at the address bus. So is my statement clear up to that point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay. Now, when I'm setting a particular code in the address bus, let us say all 0, I'm saying that it is pointing to the very first location whose number I'm setting as 0. So I will call it as 0th location, refer it as 0th location. What I can store in as location, I can store 4-bit. So the width of data, whatever I was showing earlier, is 4-bit. So in every location that can be uniquely addressed by a specific address, I can store a 4-bit number. Okay. So I will store something in this 0th location. I can store a different number in the next location, which I am calling location 1. I can store yet another 4-bit code in location 2, and so on. Now, depending on your address combination, suppose I change the address from all 0 to 1. 1 means that last bit I am making 1. 9 zeros followed by a single 1. So then the value is 1, which now points to the next location, which is the basically second location. I'm giving an index 1. So in the second location, whatever code I have written, that one will appear in your data bus now. If the address bus is having a value of 2, that all 0 but last 2 bits are 1 and 0, it will go to the third one. So is that operation clear?
So
Yeah.
can you repeat again?
Okay. So let me just take a fresh page. You know what is a register, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I take a 4-bit register, I can write anything on that and keep that data over there. Suppose I store 0001 in one register. I pick up another register where I put, let us say, 1001. Okay. I pick up another register. I say I'm saying that this is 1110. Then suppose I put another register 1010. So I can store 4-bit number in different registers, right? Now suppose I want to tell you that, okay, look at a particular register and tell me what is the content. So then what do? First of all, I have to identify which register I am referring to, whether it is the first register, second register, third register, fourth register, and so on. So I may number them like this, that this register, I may call register number 0, I may call register number 1, I may call register number 2, I may call register number 3. So I will refer to any of this register by a specific number. Say I will say, tell me the content of register 2, tell me the content of register 3. So is that part okay? I mean, if you forget about the RAM for the time being, just think about several 4-bit registers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now if I combine them together on a same chip, on a same piece of hardware, that okay, assume that there are 4 such registers, and then once again I am just referring to each of them by such a number. But now this number I am rather than telling by verbally, I am issuing that I am conveying that number through some binary code. So then how many bit binary code do I need to indicate uniquely any of these registers?
2.
Because there are 4. If there are 8, I require 3-bit code. If there are 16, I require 4-bit code. Isn't it? Is that part clear? I mean, how I am giving that number? Suppose I say there are 8 such registers. Okay. So now if I put 4 registers together, think about this one as a block, and then I am having So I'm just putting a bigger box towards that, otherwise it may look a little clumsy. So suppose these 4 register I have put inside this box, and I'm just having these 2 lines to tell you which of, so 2 lines, how do I indicate whether I want to mention this or that? So I'll be having unique binary code like 00, 01, 10 or 11. So I will send this code through 2-bit lines, right? So suppose inside this box, these 4 registers are there. You are sitting inside this box looking at these bits that whatever I have given. Suppose I have given 1 and 0. So you see that, okay, 10 means 2. You calculate mentally, look at that, you know that, okay, this is 0th one, this is first, this is second, this is third. So by 10, I'm referring to this one. Okay. Then you say that, okay, the code of this one, what is written, maybe 110. So if there are 4 output lines, depending on, I mean, whatever is the structure inside, if I say that, okay, manually you can turn them 1 or 0, then you read that and then you make this line as 1110. So I do not know what is happening inside this box. I just issue this value 1 and 0 and I'm getting 1110. So inside you are decoding this one and looking at a particular register, seeing whatever is the content, you are conveying this content or communicating this content to the external data bus. So up to that point, is it okay, or whatever I have said, or is there any confusion? Okay. So now certainly, I mean, you will not be sitting inside this green box. There will be some decoder that decodes these 2 bits into 4-bit, and it will activate a particular register whose output will be now connected to that. But at a time, I cannot access the content of more than 1 register, right? Any specific register, I have to point out by these 2 bits, and then whatever is the content, that only I can get out of this 4-bit. I simultaneously won't be able to access more than 1 register at a time. So in a memory, actually, you may think of all these locations like a register. Registers are a little bit bulky. If you think about its internal structure, you will find that it can be done in a very compact way. So once again, I'm not going into that details. It will probably be discussed in your theory. But functionally, it is exactly identical to the register because it is also storing this. Maybe if I talk about 4-bit word, it is storing 4-bit in a particular location. So now every location is identical with a register. So depending on the actual width that it supports, maybe here I'm taking 4-bit, some memory can take 8-bit, 16-bit. Maybe you know, in your laptop sometimes you used to call 32-bit, 64-bit, you know about that, right? It is basically talking about those internal data bus, that what is the width of your internal data bus, or what is the internal arithmetic that it is supporting. So anyway, now in actual memory, rather than these 2 lines, so I may refer them as the address.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, you said that the data pin has both input and output functions, right?
Right.
So the input function is used to change the data of that register, or what?
Yes, because in a RAM, I think as your friend has pointed out at the very beginning, that it is a volatile memory. So if you switch it off, it forgets everything. So whenever you take a fresh chip and power it up, fresh means after switching off, certainly, you pick it up and turn on the power, it may contain some garbage value. Whatever you intend, it doesn't have that value. So you need to first write that one, then only you will be able to read. So whatever I said that, okay, the registers are loaded with that, as in case of register also, you need to store, then only you will be able to access, right? So in case of RAM also, so there will be 2 phases of operations that must be defined for a RAM. One of them is called a write operation, another is read operation. So unless I write some data, if I try to read, I will certainly read some garbage data, because at that time after switching on, due to transient switch location contains what, I do not know. Okay, and there is no guarantee that everything will be zeroed or 1, something like that in general. I mean, exceptions are also there in general. So only after writing I will be able to read. So I'm coming to that. But if I just look into the structure of the memory, whether it becomes clear to you or not, that there will be several such locations which can be uniquely addressed by several bits. Here I have taken 4 such locations. That is why I have shown 2 bits of, I will call them address. And as I said, that each location can hold 4 bits of data. I have shown the data bus width to be 4. So if you are comfortable up to that point, maybe then I can extend this to whatever we are supposed to use in the lab, that particular chip. I mean, there are other chips also, but this is a small chip. So in the lab, we prefer the 2114, which is anyways not a 74 series chip. We are having some, I think, other chip in the simulator, but that is just having 1 bit wide output. So that will not be really helpful for our experiment. We need to put 4 of them together to get 4-bit output. So anyway, in the 2114,
So your screen has frozen.
there has been a loss of network connection for a while. So up to which point you could hear? Am I audible now?
So that read and write.
Uh-huh. So if up to that point you are comfortable, then I said that, okay, here we are talking only about 4 such locations or 4 such register as we are drawing the equivalence. So in 2114, there will be, I think if you look at its manual, it will say Am I audible? My speaker is not connected. Just one moment.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Just one moment. My speaker, I need to reconnect. Just a moment. Just say something so that I know that, okay, I can hear you. Probably you can hear me. So
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay. And in the other meet, where is the other meet? Who are there? I think Pranav and others in the other meet. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Avishkar, Mukul, Ansari, Pushpalila.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So there are, I think, frequent outages. I do not know whether it's problem of my laptop. Now I have connected to my desktop. So you can see whatever I'm writing. Okay. So, so I think where I left at that point, if I come back, so is the attendance by any chance dropped? No. Okay. So probably last time also it got cut off at the same point. So I was talking about this 1 kiloword. So I was asking that when it said 1 kiloword, what does that mean? Achha, Rohan said your screen froze, but now I think it is okay, right? Yes, Rohan? Okay. So, so when we say 1 kiloword in terms of binary, so what does it mean? Does it mean 1000 or something?
1024 words.
1024. Okay, so it will say 1 kiloword and into 4 bits. So into 4 bit means each word is basically 4 bit wide. So then how do you interpret? In the same way as we have been discussing about how many? 4 registers. Now we are talking about 1024 such locations. So it will be having 1024 such locations, and I think a few minutes back some of you have mentioned correctly that for addressing that uniquely every location, how many address bits do I need? So width of the address bus, if I say that address line is coming to that, tell me quickly while I draw, so that 10. Okay, and width of the data bus,
4.
I have to look into that. It says 4 bit. Okay, so it will be 4 bit wide. So this is about the bidirectional. Other than that, there will be certainly power supply lines and few control lines will also be there. So could you guess, I mean, what could be the control lines?
Read, write, enable, and chip enable.
Okay, read, write, enable, because we have already mentioned that it should have 2 modes, write and read. So there should be some signal that will say whether we want to read or whether we want to write. But what about, you said something chip enable or chip select, right?
Yes.
So really that pin is there, but what could be its purpose?
So if there are, like, if we want to expand the address by using multiple such chips.
Okay. So at a time, I will activate only one chip. Okay, so that the outputs are not again getting any contention. So for that purpose, we use the chip select. So if chip select or chip enable is active, then the output will be available. Otherwise, it will remain tri-state. You know the meaning of tri-state. I think at some point of time, you have mentioned what is meant by tri-state, right? So when we are using a single chip, certainly we will keep it always enable. So if you look at this chip, this 2114, you will find that, okay, there are 10 address lines coming like this. So there will be 10 address lines. There will be 4 data lines. Other than that, there will be, I think maybe in manual it will be calling chip select. In this, just let me see, I'm having my simulator open. Here also I think it is calling chip select bar. So because of this bubble, I'm not writing chip select bar here. I'm writing chip select. It already says that, okay, it is active low. There is another one in that simulator, it has been termed as WE. So what could be the full form of WE?
Right enable.
Right enable. Okay, so probably from the name itself you would understand that, okay, what will happen. So if I try to use this IC as a just single chip, sometimes called standalone. So
Sir?
you not use the word standalone. Hi, yes, please.
Right enable is active low, right?
Right enable is active low. So chip select is also active low. So I need to keep that grounded for our purpose, that when you want to use it under normal circumstance, we want the output to be available. So you would make that chip select low. While this right enable, what actually you have asked, that is it active low? So when it is low or when it is high, then what will happen? So suppose
It will
chip
be read
select,
enable.
so suppose chip select and this right enable, if we try to write down their various combinations and what is the action the chip is supposed to take. So if chip select is high, then what will happen?
This chip will be in tri-stated mode.
So the output will be tri-stated. So at that time, you don't care about this right enable as such. But if this chip is actually selected, so 0 means chip is selected, right? Because it is active low, chip is selected. So now there are two options. One is right enable can be 1. Other option is right enable can be 0. So what will happen in these two cases? So here it is that output tri-stated, and chip is not selected. Okay, and for this the other combination, what it could be from the I think from the name itself probably it will be apparent, but what can you tell me what it should be? Anyone can unmute and say. I mean, don't take much time. Hi, yes.
So could you please explain the function of chip select again?
Chip select is, if I do not select a chip, then the output will remain tri-state. Okay. So I may not be otherwise able to connect more than, suppose there is a 4-bit bus, I want to connect more than one chips. So certainly the output of the chips may not tally. So at a particular time, I would like to make only one chip active, whose data I would like to access. So in that case, I would make only that chip active, and other chips I keep them inactive. So this chip select, I will select only one chip, and in this case it is active low. So if I make it low, that particular chip will be selected, other chips will remain unselected.
Sir,
Yes.
so the 2114 is a, like, it can store 4-bit in a particular location, right?
4-bit in a particular location, and there are 1024 such locations.
Yes, so like in the IC, why there are like 10, 7, 8, like more than 4 output pins in the data bus?
Okay. In the data bus, probably you have already opened that chip in your simulator.
Yes, sir.
No, actually that I need to tell you about that one. That is not probably 2114. What is written, you see? Whether it claims that it's a 2114?
It's written 1K RAM.
So it is actually generic 1 kilobit, 1 kiloword RAM, whatever is available on the simulator. So it is slightly different with respect to 2114. It is not exactly 2114, but whatever is available in your manual, it says it's a generic, most probably it says the word generic, right? Generic 1K RAM, if I remember correctly. I can check that also. If
Yes,
you have
sir.
already opened that, then
It's generic 1K into 8-bit RAM.
So here, as I said, that 2114 is basically 1K into 4-bit. So it is apparently having double the capacity. It is not specifically mentioning any commercial chip as such. It is just saying a generic RAM chip. Okay. So its behavior is slightly different with respect to 2114 in terms of timing, etc. But it is the most, closest relative of this 2114, I can say. Only thing is that 2114, the data width is 4-bit. Here the data width is 8-bit. Okay, so certainly for your experiment, you can write down even 8-bit words. But for this specific case, I think since we are trying to map this experiment to whatever you used to do physically in the lab, so we will use only 4-bit of data. Maybe you can pick up the lower 4-bit or higher 4-bit, doesn't matter. So in the simulator, you will find that there is a generic 1K RAM which is exactly identical to 2114 in terms of the number of words. That is, it is having 1024 words, but each word is 8-bit wide. So it is basically having double the capacity, because 2114 can store 4096, that many bits organized in 1024 into 4-bit. It is double of that. 8192 bits it can store. So 1024, each location can store 8-bit. Okay, so for using that, I think once again, maybe the you cannot access that through the digital function, whatever. I think not function, digital through number. I think you are using browse. Just let me see. You are going for devices browse. Generally, that is the sequence you follow, right? Then under the device selection, I personally used to go by digital by number. I do not know what you are doing, whether you are going by digital by function. So in digital by number, this chip won't come, because that 2114 or something, there is no number. It simply says generic. So you need to go digital by function. And then I do not know whether you have opened the simulator. I'm not sharing the screen right at this moment. So digital by function, then in the minor device class, you will find a RAM. So in that RAM, there are 2 RAMs. You will, what is the first one? 4505. So once again, there is a CMOS chip called 4505, but the data width in that case is just 1 bit. So with 1 bit, I think we may not be able to carry out our experiment. Then we need to put 4 such chips. So then connections will become a little clumsy. So that is why I picked up this so-called generic one. But otherwise, I generally discourage using those generic things. But in this case, I find that it is very closely resembling your 2114, excepting the data width. It is actually giving you 8-bit, whereas actual 2114 gives you 4-bit. So it is identical to putting 2 2114 together side by side. So anyway, so finally you need to pick up that one. I will come to that one a little later. But right now, I think what we have been discussing, yeah, okay. So about chip select and this write enable. So if chip is not selected, then certainly the output will remain tri-state. Now under these 2 conditions, which one is what? If you can tell me.
Second one is write mode. First one is read mode.
Second one is write. First one means 01 is read. So you are correct, but can you just tell me, I mean, what is the rationale behind that?
Because write enable is active low.
Write enable is active low. So when it is active low, but we should see that chip is also selected. At that time, we know that we are going for write mode. And then if it is 1, then we are in the so-called read mode. Okay. So now, where I have drawn. So if I put back this one, now you see whether that one makes sense. I mean, only look at this portion. Maybe the other portion I can cover. Look at this portion. So I have connected a counter to say just the lower 4 bits of the RAM. So I have connected the counter with the lower 4 bit of the RAM, and this portion I am covering up. So what will happen in that case? Suppose higher order bits I have grounded. All the higher order bits I have grounded. I put a RAM whose 4 output lines. I'm still considering it to be 2114. If you use that generic RAM, take any 4 bits. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you take the lower half or upper half. Only the same 4 bit you will be using where you are writing. So now, could you can you identify what it will or how it will behave?
It can store only 2 to the power 4 words.
If I use 7493 using 4 address lines,
it will be 10 into 4. Well,
it will be
like
10 if I use 7490, right? Because it will circulate only through 10 states. 0000 to maybe 1001. So 0 to 9 in case of your 7490, 0 to 15 in case of 7493. Okay, so I need not really have to populate the full RAM. So for your experiment with the roll number, where you are supposed to display only 10 characters, including maybe a blank. So then could you now guess what you are supposed to do in that case? That I have connected only, I have given you this hardware, then how do you proceed? That I have given you a counter, I have given you a 7447 connected with this display, and I have given you a RAM. And maybe some connections have already been made. Suppose these main connections are already been made. So what are the connections left out? Mainly that read write and something else if you would like to connect.
Sir?
Yes.
So the counter output pins have been connected to the address bus, right, of the RAM.
Counter address. So I'm actually following this. Whatever I'm drawing on this side is address, but there is no such convention. So I am supposed to write, say this is A0, A1, A2, A3, that is there the address pins, and all other higher address pins A6 through A9 are grounded. So I'm supposed to show actually that. Okay, and these are the data bus. Out of, I think if you use the generic RAM, there will be 8 lines. What are the names of these lines? If you have opened that, maybe IO0, IO1, something like that, if I remember correctly. Let me open. Yeah, IO0 to IO7. There are 8 data lines. So they are already mentioning that it is an IO through the nomenclature itself. So maybe you take IO0 to IO3, first 4 lines. Okay, you could have taken any other 4 lines, even you can interleave, doesn't matter. Because you will be writing to only those bits that will be reading. So any 4 bit out of that 8 will be fine. So then what you should do? How should you write into the RAM? Can you tell me a mechanism in which you can write into the RAM?
So like we will need it, like if we give some external input, we will need some hex keypad or ASCII, and we will get it to the data bus.
True, you require something like either a hex keypad or you require an ASCII keypad through which you will be sending the lines. But then there is a small issue, that is, if I'm having a RAM, so maybe here I am having a counter, or by some other means I am generating this address. So let us say I use a counter, I directly put that counter. But suppose I give manual clock, because otherwise the counter will keep on counting. I may not be able to write on a specific location. So suppose it's a 4-bit counter, either 7493 or 90, whatever. So the higher order address bits, they are all grounded. So they are all grounded. So this is A0, A1, A2, A3. Higher order bits starting from A4 to A9, they are all grounded. And now about this data line, suppose I pick up only 4 lines, IO0, IO1, IO2, IO3, something like that. I am having 2 signals. One is chip select bar, which I am grounding. Now the other one, which is very important for our purpose, which is write enable bar. So what I should do when I would like to write something, suppose your roll number is, what kind of roll number you are having, 19 something, right? So 1 is 0001. All of your roll number starts with 19 almost, right? Excepting a few. I think those were taking this one in your subsequent semesters. So maybe the first digit is 1, second digit could be 8, 9, whatever. So suppose 9, then most probably you are double E, almost all of you. So for E, what is the character we are displaying? We are displaying that small t, which eventually is or incidentally is having that E character only. So in that way, I think you are writing your full roll number once again, 1 or 3 as pertinent, 00, something like that. So, and finally you are writing that F for blank, right? 1111 is the last or the 10th character that you are writing. So typically you need to have this type of data coming out of this RAM. So I'm just changing the nomenclature a little bit. Rather than IO, I am calling it D0, D1, D2, D3 for data bus. So first of all, we need to write those data in those locations. Okay, because this might be your 19EE100 whatever, and finally I am having an F which is basically blank. So at the 0th location I am supposed to write this, at the next location I am supposed to write this, and so on. At the what will be this location 1111 where I am supposed to write that? Please unmute and say.
Ninth location.
Ninth location.
Ninth location.
Your voice is very feeble. Huh? You said 9?
Ninth.
Okay. So, so finally there will be 10 state. But just I'm asking, is it really required that I should write this one in the 0th location? What if I miss the address? Suppose this counter, I do not know what is the exact value of the address right now. So then maybe I have actually written this one instead of in the first location, maybe I have written in address 2, and then the rest of the sequence followed. Then will there be any difference in the final output?
No.
Like we need to like maintain the sequence, I think. Like after which character will be written, that thing. The specific address won't matter, I think. The value of that.
Right. So because essentially they are coming through what do you call a sequence, in a sequence, one after the other. So then there should not be any problem, right?
So, but we need to make sure that the write enable becomes high after 9 cycles.
Write enable? No, there are two different phases. One is write phase, that is just once.
Yeah.
So once you have written, now it is ready for multiple times reading. It is not that you are reading it just once. You are repeatedly reading it.
So we can manually like make the write enable high or low, right? One according to our purpose.
Okay, for the time being, if I assume that you can really do that. Okay, so in that case, maybe during write operation, you make it low. So suppose if I put a switch over there, suppose I can make it high or I can make it low. Okay, so in that case, you can manually change the mode to read and write. So, but how do you interface the hex keypad, or let us consider hex keypad, because when you change that, maybe I can change the I mean, when you press a new character, I can issue a clock for the counter so that it advances to the next location and prepare itself for writing in the next location. So maybe my my hex keypad, if I draw my hex keypad here, so this is hex keypad, not hex keypad, ASCII keypad. I think we are using ASCII keypad with that strobe signal there. So out of that 7-bit code, I think this 3-bit we are not taking, we're taking this last 4-bit so that we can write some numbers on it. Now, do you suggest this 4-bit I would connect over here, or you foresee some problem? So this side anyway is also connected to that 7447, and so this side is connected to 7447, and the display is also there. Okay, with that 5-volt and resistor 330 or whatever. So now tell me, how should I connect this ASCII keyboard to the data line? Should a direct connection work, or do you foresee any problem if I connect it directly to the bus?
Basically, during the write phase, the ASCII input will also go to the 7447.
But that is fine. I mean, whatever I am pressing, I can see that particular character glowing. So that is, rather than a disadvantage, I may say that, okay, that's an advantage in some sense. Whatever I am inputting, it will display.
Sir?
Yes.
So like the connection has to be made in such a manner that for each for each cycle of the counter, it takes one input, right? Like I have to make the connection in such a manner. So like, don't we need some registers etc. in between, so that there is some strobe signal and For
So
each
strobe signal is there. If you wish, actually in the lab, this hex keypad that is having strobe signal, so we can directly use that strobe signal for the clock of the counter. Okay, that whenever we press a new key, so after its writing, when I release that key, the counter is getting advanced by 1. So that can be directly connected, but here ASCII keypad is having some problem in the simulator. I'll tell you.
During the write operation, the input pins of the ASCII will kind of interfere, right, with the operation?
During write or during read?
During, like when we are taking input from the RAM. So that is reading actually, reading during read.
That is reading from the RAM. So with respect to RAM, that will be reading. So,
Sir,
yes.
When the RAM is in read mode, at that time, if in the data bus pin there is some like other input connected, like will the read output be affected in that
Yes,
case?
yes, certainly it will be, because at that time, suppose I am reading say 0001, okay, but maybe you are actually I mean sending from the keypad, you are sending something else, whatever you have written last, say 1111. So the keypad is set to F, for example. So all the bits are high. F means all are high. I think ASCII character F may not give you all high. You need to give something else to see that, okay, what, if I remember correctly, capital O, question mark, some such things will give you all high characters. So anyway, if it is in hex, then I require all high output. So if I'm sending all high bits here, at that same time, I would like to read from this RAM that I want to read this 0001 so that your first character of roll number is getting displayed. So then there will be a contention in 3 of these lines, right? ASCII keypad is trying to make this high, whereas internally you have stored 0001. So the output will be 0, but ASCII keypad saying it is 1. So there will be a contention. So something you are asking?
Yes, then sir, like we can take the output of the write enable and use some XOR gate with the output of the ASCII and then connect with the.
So maybe we can just use a tri-stated buffer for this.
Yes, I
If we
think
have
rather
that
than doing that XORing kind of thing, because that also may not work well, because during writing operation, at that time that can once again may interfere in some way. So rather than doing that, because I really do not know whether ASCII will match, whether it will not match. So what I can ensure that just you are having say chip select signal for this RAM chip. So if you unselect that one, then all the outputs will become unselected. Unselected means all the output will become tri-state. So similarly, you can have something called a tri-state buffer. So a tri-state buffer, how it works. So if you are having, I'm showing it here. So this is a general symbol of a buffer. Yes.
Sir, could you please explain the problem again? Like, I mean to say that when we are reading the reading from the RAM and when we are writing from the ASCII to the RAM, right? So how both will clash? Like they are operating in different mode, right?
Right. So let us look into this sequence. So for the benefit of others also, let me explain that one in a couple of minutes. So suppose during the writing phase, what we have done, we have selected the chip always. So it can be in the read mode or write mode. Now the write pin, it is connected to high. So is it in the read mode or write mode right now?
Read.
So I need to switch it to the write mode so that this write enable bar, it gets a 0 input. So at that time, it is working. It means this data bus is working as an input towards RAM. Okay, input or output we are referring with respect to this RAM chip. So it becomes input to the chip. So then if I press any character in the ASCII keypad, whatever is its code, suppose the first character is having a code of 0001, I press 1, then I press 9, then I press T and so on. So it will give me a 4-bit code depending on whatever key I have pressed. And if I have connected, assume that they are connected. I am not showing the connection right now. Assume that they are connected. So in that case, what will happen? Whatever key I press, the corresponding 4-bit binary code will come into this RAM, because now it is in the input mode. So it will go inside. So in the write mode, what will happen? Whatever I am feeding through these lines now, it will be stored in that particular location. Which location? That will be governed by the counter state. That if the counter state is now 0000, it will be stored in location 0. Okay. So then I will press 9 over here. At the same time, I will make such arrangement so the counter changes to 1. So now it points to the next location. Write enable is still active, so it will write 9 in the next location. So in that way, I will write all the 10 characters. So last character for blank, I need to send all ones. Okay, so if it is an hex keypad, I would have pressed F. But in ASCII, last 4 bits, you will see that capital F doesn't have all 4 bits high. So you need to press something either like question mark or capital O, where along with the other bits which we are neglecting, these 4 bits will become high. So if I press, let us say, capital O, then what will happen? It will make all 4 bits high. And if at that time counter value is 9, so all ones are being written into that location. So my writing operation is complete. Okay, I have written through all the 10 locations. Now I switch it back so that it won't be in the write mode anymore. I have completed my writing. Now, I mean, whatever position it is being shown, it is basically in the read mode. So do you understand what is read mode?
Yes, sir.
So in read mode, what is happening? The bus now is becoming output with respect to RAM. Once again, I am saying. So from inside the RAM, the particular location which is now addressed by this counter, that will appear at this data bus. So if I reset the counter back to 0, then what is the expected output here? These 4 bits should follow this 0th location content 0001. So these 4 lines I'm just writing here, it should be 0001. 3 lines will be low. This LSB line should be high. So is that part okay during read operation?
So the counter is resetting to 0, right?
Right. And then if I give a what do you call that, an independent clock, like from your pulsar, what you used to give, then it will go through all these locations, and then whatever is the 4-bit code, it will output in the data bus one by one, so that your 74747 will send the corresponding code into the 7-segment display. Your roll number will be displayed in sequence. Once again, counter will be reset after 9 because it's a decade counter, or you have made arrangement for resetting. It will once again after blank go for 19, whatever is your roll number. So
yes, sir.
Okay, but now the problem is ASCII keypad remains connected over there, and whatever be the last key pressed, maybe if it is all 1, so in this bus they are still all ones, right? Or even if I have pressed some other character, that might not match with this one, because anyway the characters are different. So even if it is 1, it might match right now, but when the next code will appear, it will not match. So for example, if I consider this specific example, that the last character I have pressed in ASCII code is having 1111, whereas right now I'm looking into the first location. So the RAM, because now this bus is being held by both the RAM as well as by ASCII keypad. So they are not sending the same code, excepting maybe in the LSB in this particular case. So first 3 lines, they will be having the contention that whether to assume a 0 value or whether to assume a 1 value. So this is called bus contention. So I must avoid this, because otherwise 7447 will understand that, okay, which one I am sending? I am sending 0 or am I sending 1? I am supposed to send 0, but this ASCII keypad, it is holding that to 1. So there will be actually huge short circuit current will flow from one circuit to the other, from one component to the other, and one of them in practice will get eventually damaged. So certainly I need to avoid this thing. Hi, yes.
So do we have to connect the ASCII to the RAM only when it is in the write mode?
Only when it is in the write mode, but certainly I think once I make a hardware, I cannot take it out on the fly. So I have to make that arrangement electronically. That physically I cannot detect this bus, right? So a convenient way, I think some of your friend has suggested that can I have some tri-state kind of stuff over here. So ASCII keypad doesn't have a provision to tri-state it directly. So I need to use something called a tri-state buffer. So what is a buffer and what is a tri-state buffer? So typically buffer symbol is this. So what is meant by a buffer actually? You know what is a buffer?
Like it transfers voltage without drawing current.
Yes. So in this case, this buffer, rather than an inverter is having a bubble over here, symbol is like this. So if I send a 0, it will send a 0 on the other side. If I send a 1, it will also send a 1 on the other side, but the current drive is much higher. So in many cases you use such a buffer, but in this case what we will use is called a tri-state buffer that is having an extra signal called enable. So it is something like this, that if the input is A and the output is Y, so if you try to write down the truth table, it will be something like this, that maybe I can write it here. Is it visible where I am writing? So if enable is deactivated, enable is 0, then it doesn't care about A, output is high Z. So I'm just writing Z. Z means, you understand the meaning of high Z? It is open basically. So it can have any value. It is just like an open switch. So now if enable is high, at that time if I make 0, A equal to 0, output will be 0. If enable is active and if I make out A high, it will also be high. So basically it is following A. I can write if enable is 1, output will be equal to A. Otherwise if enable is 0, it will be high Z. So we can have two types of chip. You will find something is having an active high enable. You can have a chip which says something like this, enable. So could you guess, looking at this symbol, that how is it different with respect to the first one?
So it is enable bar.
It is enable bar. So you require 0 rather than a 1 over here to activate that. So if enable is 0, A will be communicated to the output. Otherwise, it will remain tri-state. So either one we can use. But if I use such a tri-state buffer, then you see how should I connect it like this? I would connect a buffer in this way. I would connect another buffer which is coming from the other line, going to, let us say, the third line, second line, and so on, the LSB. So now who will activate these buffers?
Right enable.
Right enable.
Right enable. Okay. So can I connect the right enable to the enable line of these buffers? Look at the the truth table. So whether that will do, or
not get.
Not gets.
So inverter.
okay, inverter at which place?
After right enable. So when the right enable is 0, we have to connect it to enable.
After right enable is,
Sir, we can use like high enable tri-state, right? Then you can directly connect the right enable.
so whatever I have shown here, the other one that is having active low enable line, if I use that particular chip, so
Sorry, sir, low enable. I mean.
so enable is active low. So if I use that type of chip, so then probably I can connect it with this, right? So whenever I'm making it 0, this is tri-state, allows the ASCII keypad to go here, and also at the same time we know that if right enable is 0, this is in the write mode. So at that time these lines are acting like input, because these are IO lines. This can be either input or output depending on this right enable. So right now it is in the input mode, and as soon as I switch it to the read mode, that right enable becomes high, these buffers will become inactive or disabled. So the output will become tri-state. So whatever is the code at this side, that will not be communicated to the other side. It will become open. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now who will can I automate this by any chance? That that when I press a key in the ASCII keypad, then only there will be a right enable required. Otherwise, if I don't press it, then certainly I am not writing. That is also needed for maybe giving a clock for the counter. Right.
We can use this strobe.
So can I directly connect the strobe signal to this enable or this right enable line or this enable lines?
Maybe we will need an inverter.
Okay, justify why do I need that?
So like the strobe is a positive pulse, right?
Strobe is a positive going pulse. So I require an inverter, then I can connect it, right? Okay, so whenever I press, and can I use the same signal for generating this clock for the counter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so maybe I can pick up this signal. I have to make a detour because I have already drawn that truth table in between. So I'm taking it in this way. Okay, but that is about the write mode, right? During writing only, the counter is getting advanced, but during read mode, what it should do? At that time, should I keep on pressing the ASCII keypad to generate the clock signal so that...
You should have a normal clock.
Normal clock means this is a clock source as you used to do a pulsar or something like this. So suppose there is a clock source whose output. So the counter can have two sources, right? Either this one or the other one. So right now I think manually you can use a switch, but can you think about having an electronic switch? That either
the clock input will connect to the counter clock input when it is in read mode.
The multiplexer.
Right. So maybe here I am showing it as a switch that when in the read mode, maybe I think in the read mode, if I have to synchronize it, I am supposed to show my drawing is not really good. So it is supposed to be something like a single pole double throw switch. You understand these terminologies, right? SPDT, DPDT, DPST.
No, sir.
Electrical person, I thought that this is called a single pole double throw switch. Single pole means that this is called a pole. It can have two throws, one throw on this side, another throw on this side. So this is called single pole double throw. If a conventional switch that one side is open, it can only be turned on or turned off. We used to call single pole single throw. Okay, so this switch is called single pole double throw. This is called single pole single throw. Sometimes there are multiple such poles connected together. Suppose in your main switch, you will find that in neutral and phase, they can switch together. So in that case, there are double pole, two switches turning together. So physically they are connected. So if you move one lever, so both of them are getting turned on or turned off. I mean, not turned on, it can connect either to these two lines or it will connect to two bottom lines. So that is called double pole, DP and DT. There are two throws, DP, DT. So that terminology is generally used in electrical domain only. So whatever I am drawing, it is basically SPDT switch. So you will find such SPDT switch over there, but you can do it manually. Can it be done in an automated way? That rather than manually throwing the switch, can I do that electronically? Then you require to choose from one of the sources. For example, here either you need to choose from the clock source or you need to choose from this one. So you can use, I think one of your friends has uttered that word, multiplexer. You know what is a multiplexer probably. In one of the challenge problem, at least I guess you have used. What is the number, do you remember the chip that you have used for multiplexing? 74. Anyone used a multiplexer? No answer.
Not used.
I think you have designed that error subtractor with equal to, right? That you are saying 7 plus.
IC had in the IC itself had a multiplexer inside it. We did not use an external multiplexer.
No, IC. What is that IC? Just I'm asking that. What is that particular IC that you have used?
7495.
No, not 95. No, 95 is a different one. 95 is in the multiplexer used. I am talking about the previous experiment where you only had adder and subtractor. So you had no, I think it was
7495.
No, I'm mixing up. I'm mixing up with
that experiment, that challenge problem, that actually that time I didn't know about multiplexer, so I used conventional gates to get the output.
Okay. There is something called 74157. So you may note down or you may check out. There are 4 such multiplexers together, 2 to 1 multiplexer. So one of them you can use as here, another you can use here. So there will be a select line which will change this terminal as well as this terminal. So the so-called pole. So it is basically used as now double pole, double throw kind of switch. So now the question comes, who will control that? Because in that case, select line has to be controlled also. So who will control the select line?
Right enable.
Right enable.
No, write enable, but write enable here we are showing that we are controlling it manually. Can we do some sort of automation there? Is that possible? Okay, later on we'll think about this one because you are having some new things to work with today. So let us try first manually that, okay, whether you are being able to write it or not. So what you need is that you need to invert this ASCII strobe signal to generate write enable pulse as well as the clock for the counter. And later on, I think you can throw this switch manually if you wish to a pulsar source during reading operation. At that time, certainly you are changing that before switching this one to the read mode. Otherwise, what will happen if it is still in the write mode and you have mistakenly thrown this switch to the clock source? So can you tell me what will happen in that case? That before changing this switch to read mode, you are changing the other switch, that is the clock source, to the pulsar.
Automatically some of the storage will be filled up. We have to keep up with the pace of clock to write properly.
So there will be overwriting because it's a 10-state counter, so it will once again go through all these states. If I send it to the clock automatically, it will go through these states. And if the write enable is enabled at that time, then what would happen? It will write in those locations whatever you have pressed last. Probably you are not pressing the ASCII keypad anymore when you are in the read mode. So whatever you have pressed that last one, so that may appear over here. So will that happen? Or you may say that no, that doesn't happen because the ASCII keypad will give a high Z state at that time. So what do you feel will happen?
So when the clock is turned on and we are in the write mode, so it will start from address 0 and the data will be overwritten over there.
Actually, this figure is, I think, drawn quite long. I am keeping it here. You have not pointed out when I have joined something that I need to remove something also. Initially, I have connected this write enable bar to this manual switch. But the moment I have connected this, do you remember why I have connected this? Because write enable and these enables are supposed to be synchronized. Okay, so I have connected that. Later on, I have added this blue inverter. Why I have added that?
To control the read and write operations, like whenever I'm reading to. Like,
yes, but do you think something wrong is there right now? Whatever it is drawn, if it is drawn
so like we are giving the input and shorting the input at the output pins, right? There is something like that.
Where is that?
So like we're taking the input, we're giving input to the write enable and also taking input output from it, and like those two positions are like the same, I think.
I think probably you could not express it your thought properly. So are you talking about this write enable signal as input and output? It is only the input signal towards the chip. There is no output signal from write enable.
Like the tri-state buffers are taking inputs right from the enable. That thing I wanted to.
Tri-state buffers are taking input, but that is not coming out of the write enable line. Earlier I have connected a switch. Now I said that it is driven by an inverter, because as soon as I press that, there will be a pulse which looks like this. But because this is active low, at that time the inverter would make it a negative going pulse. So that will activate these buffers as well as make this write enable low.
Okay.
So generation is from that, but still something is wrong. Can you find out what is wrong?
So if we are controlling it by ASCII, so is there a need of the logic switch?
No, there is not. Actually, if I connected a logic switch, then this line is either held at 1 or 0. This inverter won't be able to change that output, right?
Yes, sir.
There will be a contention. Whenever there will be a negative going pulse, if I connect it here, so as soon as I connect these lines, earlier I have shown that, okay, manually how to do that. But if you really connect the inverter over here, at that time you must remove this. Otherwise, the inverter will not be able to work independently. It has to follow the output of the switch. There could be contention again. So either I have to use the switch or I have to use the inverter connected to that. Okay, so keep this point in mind. Now there is up to this point, if it is clear, then I'm going to tell you
Sir,
something.
So should there be some delay between the write enable and the clock?
How that inverter is working?
I think two of you simultaneously told something. First question, I got it, that there is there some delay between write enable and clock? So I will answer that, but there is another question also. Can you repeat? I think who was telling in slightly feeble voice.
Sir, can you please explain how the inverter is working again?
This inverter?
Yes.
Are you talking about this inverter? Okay. So ASCII keypad is having
Yes,
a strobe signal. You must have used earlier. So whenever you press a key, rather release a key, it will generate a strobe signal, which is a short-lived positive going pulse. Short-lived means in the simulator, actually, it is taking just one tick. You remember what is tick? By default, it is 10 ticks that takes a full clock cycle. So it is just remaining high for one such tick, that much of duration. So inverter will do what? Whenever I release a key, it will generate something like this. Okay, for short period, it will become low. So this low signal will activate this write enable, because during write enable, if I make it low, it will be in the write mode. At the same time, this low signal will enable these buffers. Is it visible, these buffers where I have drawn?
Yes.
Either say yes or no. Okay. So because of this low value, they will also be activated. So whatever I pressed the ASCII keypad last time, for which I think this is getting generated, so that particular code will travel down these buffers to the data line of this RAM, which is now in the write mode, because when it is low. So these two are synchronized. The buffers I'm turning on, which allows the input to travel down into the RAM during its write enabled phase, and not the other way around, because otherwise there could be bus contention. So that is the purpose of the inverter, so that ASCII keypad is generating a positive going strobe. I am trying to convert it in a negative one, because it is active low, and also I'm using a buffer in synchrony with this, which is also enabled when it is low. So I don't know whether your question has been answered.
Sir, but how will we know that now we have entered everything we wanted and we just want to read the value, not write anymore?
Your voice once again becomes very feeble. So I could not follow. I mean, what you said, is it answered, or you are still having some question?
Yes, sir, that doubt is clear. I have another doubt that since every time we are entering something, that signal, that pulse is generated. So how will know that now the user has entered everything he wanted, and now the RAM should just be its read mode, not the write.
So if I have finished, I am not pressing any further key. So it is not getting entered into the write enable mode anymore. And the counter remains stable at a particular value, typically the last location, or maybe the next higher location. Now what I need to do, if I want to display the roll number sequentially, I need to throw this switch to the other side. Okay, so in that case, I need to throw the switch to the other side, so that now a free running clock can take over the counter, and then it will generate the sequences of addresses by means of all this 10 state counter probably you are using. So it will run through all zeros to all nines. So these are the addresses being generated. And then these are not address, these are data I have written. The the address will be generated between 0 and 9. And whatever data I have put over here during the earlier write phase, that will appear over here, go to 7447, and display will be there. So is that part fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir?
Now coming back to the other question, I think. Yes.
Yes, sir. Like I was asking that, can you
Some of
like? Hello.
Your voice is getting garbled. I think maybe the problem in my network. But can you just repeat?
Yes, sir. Like I was asking, like in the end, sir, like can you sum up how to use the manual switch and the inverter together, like for the right enable signal? That thing.
Okay, so but before that, I think there was another question which I'm supposed to discuss. That question was about the timing of this right enable. So that is actually important, particularly for simulation. I think you need to do something extra. So first thing is how we go about this one. Suppose our first address, if I reset that counter, will be certainly 0000, right? So then we are depending on your roll number, you are sending some data. I'm just writing 1. I mean 1 corresponding to 0001. Then maybe you will be storing 9. So I'm just writing in this hex format or decimal format, whatever. Then we will put E and so on. So suppose then what will happen if I press the ASCII keypad 1, a strobe will be generated, right? So that strobe will write this data into this specific address location. Is that fine? And then if I press 9, another signal will go. It will be written in this location. However, it doesn't really matter if you write 1 in this location because it will be sequential. So your counter will run through these 10 states only. So even if it got shifted somehow, suppose it is not reset at the very beginning, then also you will get the same sequence. Maybe the starting point will be different. If you reset it, may not be, it will start with 1. So anyway, so in that way, I think you are going to have this. So final will be 1001. In that location, maybe you are storing F or something. I am writing in hex. So think about the spurious states. You remember about the spurious states that you got in your 7493 or 90 because it is asynchronous. All the bits are not changing simultaneously. Do you remember our discussion about that? So suppose when it changes to 1, just 1 bit is changing, that is happening, okay. But when it is changed to 10, 2 bits are changing, right? So which one will change first? Anyone can unmute and say?
The first one, like when 1 bit is changing.
So then what will happen? Rather than attaining this 0010, there will be a short-lived state, right? After 0001, before going into that, this one would change first. Still, it is not changed. So there will be short-lived state of what? 00? Tell me.
00.
00, right? 00. Then this one will be changed. So there will be a short-lived state in between as 0000. So then what will happen? You are in the write mode, okay, while this address is being changed. And then this one may happen either because of pressing that 9 or pressing of E, depending on exactly how you have configured. But certainly it is not 1 at that time, which you have already written on this location. So you have pressed 9 or E, whatever. Generally, if you press E, then this change may take place. So what will happen? Because it is in the still write mode, address is getting generated 0000. So this location will be overwritten. You will not get 1 which you have already written. It will be overwritten by this character, whatever right now you are saying to write over here. Same thing will happen here also between 3 and 4. So when it is supposed to go to 4, what will happen? Can you tell me the spurious state? What will happen? This one will change first, keeping the other 3 constant. So 001 will remain constant, this one will change. Then the next bit will change to 0. So it will become 0000. Then the next bit will change to 1. Now it will become, so there will be 2 spurious states in between, 2 and 0. So 2 you have already written something, now it will be overwritten. 0 will also be overwritten. It has already been overwritten once, it will be overwritten. So after that you will find that, okay, you are expecting these things to be written on that. It is not written over there. So can you suggest some remedy for that?
Introduce some delay.
Introduce some delay. Okay, what type of delay you want? Delay in what?
Delay in the writing pulse. Right
delay
enable pulse.
type pulse. So it is not really wise to keep the write enable continuously active. In this case, active means low, continuously active throughout the writing process. Whenever you are changing the address, until the address is getting stabilized, then you should not make the write enable active. Okay, so that is a general rule, but for that one you require some additional hardware in that case. Right now, I think maybe in your I think in the lab it works sometimes because the delay being generated by that RAM before that the address is getting settled. But here what is happening in simulator, everything is determined by your tick period, which is 1/10 of a clock period. So here you will find the problem of this overwriting. So one of the solution, what I would suggest, then you would know about a new IC also, rather than using 7493 or 7490, because they are asynchronous counter, right? They are asynchronous counter. You use some synchronous counter. So what is the difference between synchronous and asynchronous? Has it been discussed in
All
the
bits change simultaneously.
all the flip-flops, all the sequential elements will change simultaneously. So probably you have not seen that IC earlier and not used that earlier. So a corresponding IC is there, which is called 74193. But 74193, rather than just having a 4-bit synchronous counter, it has got some other features also. For example, it can count up as well as count down, whereas 7493 can only count up. So that up-down control you have to keep in proper mode so that it counts up only. I think there are two clocks basically. One is for counting up, one is for counting down. So clock for down, that I think you need to keep at high. So just read the manual, and it is also possible there is something called a parallel load. So if I just draw that counter 74193, it will be having 4-bit input as well. So why the counter should have an input? 4-bit input and 4-bit output. So counter output, I understand that, okay, from 0000 it will go to 1111, or it may count down in opposite
So I
direction.
think this counter will get reset when it reaches the loaded input.
It is not actually that. You can load some number from which you can start counting. So you can load a number into the counter, then you can start up counting or down counting. Okay. So basically, I mean, whatever you have said, you do it in a slightly different way. If you want after several pulses, it should go to 0. So you use it as a down count and load that number initially. So when it becomes 0, you know that that many counts have elapsed. So it is something like that. So you do not use that loadable feature right now. So there is a signal called PL, parallel load bar. So PL also you need to make high so that you use it just like your 7493. Only thing is that it is synchronous. So all the bits are changing simultaneously. Spurious states are not there. Okay, but once again, in ideal condition, in simulators, spurious states are not there. Physically, there might be still spurious states because the wired length might be different. All the 4 wired lengths might not be same on your breadboard. So longer wires take longer time compared to the other one because it will be having more delay due to that RC delay typically. So, and you are having another IC called 741, if I remember correctly, 92. Please check. I guess it is 92. So 93, I mean, it is easy to remember, 7493 and 74193. So synchronous version is 74193, whereas synchronous version of 7490, it is numbered 74192, not 90, but 74192. And generally in the manual, you will find 192 and 193, they are listed together on the same data sheet. So maybe you have seen same datasheet for 93 and 90 as well. But anyway, so what I suggest that use any of these, maybe 741, 93 or 92, whatever. And so that is one thing, 74192 or 93. 4-bit of that you are connecting to your RAM chip. So RAM chip means maybe A0 through A3 only. Other bits A4 through A9, all you are grounding. Then chip select bar you are also grounding. There will be one connection is that, sorry, write enable, and the other is certainly the data bus. So as you are saying that maybe if I try to summarize, then I need to manipulate this write enable first of all. And these data lines, they are connected through, I am drawing on this side. They are connected through an active low enable. So actually there are 4 different lines for these control signals. You need to tie them up separately. Okay, so here, any question? Okay, so these are connected to these lines like this, and they eventually go to that 7447 and display. So just for the sake of completeness, I'm drawing all this register, power supply, etc. So anyway, now on this side you are having that ASCII keypad with the strobe signal. So first 4-bit you are taking, just like the other experiment you have carried out. So you are connecting it like this. So now the strobe signal, initially I think you may try with this clock. Once again, I think it is low. The other clock, I think for clock, most probably it is called CD clock, CPD. Just let me check. 74193 CPU and CPD. Okay, clock positive for down. CP means okay, it is not active low. There is no bubble. Generally they write CN and CP, P for positive and N for negative. So CPD and CPN, CPU, U for up. So clock positive up. Here you are supposed to give the clock, and this one is supposed to be connected to logic high, +1. +1 means +5 volt. And the parallel load, it is active low. So you need to connect that one also to the same +5 volt. So just remember those things. Other lines I think you can keep open, there is no issue, or you can keep them grounded. Anything else? There are 2 terminal count. You do not require terminal cup up, terminal count down. That these 2 pins you need not have to use. So anyway, now you are connecting this. So initially what I would suggest that manually you put that switch, whatever I asked you to draw that. You may not use that ASCII keypads over strobe signal. Manually you get comfortable. So this clock you may also generate by manually. You can just switch it on and off, and this right enable also you can turn on and off, and at that time connect this line with the right enable. So they are anyway connected to the right enable. Achha, now there is a small problem that is particularly true for this simulator only. In real life, I think there's we did not face that problem in the lab, because the strobe signal that is being generated from this ASCII keypad, it is actually remaining high in the simulation only for 1 tick period. Okay, now what is happening if you use this for this is not strobe signal. Strobe signal is from ASCII. So whenever I am putting that inverter, it is taking 1 tick delay from coming from this point to this point. Okay, now when I am inverting, when I am giving this signal for this enable line, then enabling takes place in another tick. Okay, so basically in the 3rd tick, I think it is getting activated, and whenever we are activating this right enable line, it is getting, the input, it is tri-stating. This bus, it is getting tri-stated in some other ticks, maybe 2nd tick, I don't remember exactly, but there is a timing mismatch in the simulator. Because in real life, I think it may not happen like this, because here everything is synchronized. So by that time, it is expecting that the data would come over here for writing. By the time this enabled, these signals have been disabled once again. So you are not getting the right, whatever you are supposed to write in proper time. When the right enable is actually coming, at that time the data is not present, for which you require a slightly wider pulse rather than just 1 tick, maybe 2 tick, or maybe to be on the safer side, at least 3 ticks wide. So can you suggest anything how I can stretch that pulse? I am having a small pulse, which right now anyway, after this inversion, it has become something like this. So if its width is 1 tick unit, you remember the tick, that is unit. So if I want to make it 3 tick unit, that whenever it is getting generated, can you suggest some solution? So the way the simulator is written, whenever you are putting one component, it is getting 1 unit of delay to pass that. So if you put some other elements over here, everything will take 1 tick delay to pass it to its output. So how can you stretch a pulse? Any idea? Anyone can unmute and say.
So maybe we can increase the time of the pulse time period.
That is what we would like to do, but how can we do that? Because it is just 1 tick wide. We want it to be 3 tick wide. The ASCII keypad is generating just a 1 tick wide pulse. So
add 2 more inverters.
Yes.
Add 2 more inverters.
Add 2 more inverters, and what should I do?
There will be a propagation delay that may stretch the pulse line.
No, that will not stretch the pulse. That will actually simply shift the pulse by 2 delay units, but the duration of the pulse will remain same.
Can add 2 flip-flops, it will take it to 4 times.
Rather than that, but flip-flops works on cycles, not on ticks. So I'm just suggesting one. You can modify from this diagram. Do I have a blank page? Okay. Suppose there is a small pulse coming like this. So I'm just putting 2 buffers. You can manage with inverters in a slightly different way. If I put 2 buffers as per this simulation tool, it will take 1 tick to appear over here, this pulse. Okay. So in timing, if this pulse appears here at this point of time, at this point, the pulse will appear in the next tick phase. In this point, it will appear in even another one. Now I want the pulse, that the final output pulse, to occupy these 3 time period, 3 tick periods. I want it to stretch it like this. So can I combine these 3 nodes signals? One is the basic strobe signal coming from the keypad, and can I combine them to have this 3 tick wide signal in some way?
Use a 3 input OR gate.
Put in into
3 input OR gate.
3 input OR gate. Okay, so that will do the job, right? That will stretch the pulse. I will get the output like this. So here I want a negative pulse, because the after inversion the pulse looks something like this. So if I put 2 inverters, not inverters, 2 buffers, because inverter means it will be inverted. So the second point means this one would be having this waveform. The last output will be having this waveform. What I want is a wider 0 going pulse.
So we can just use a NOR gate.
Think about that. Which gate should I use? Anyone is low, I want low.
3 input AND gate maybe.
So bubbled or
what is a bubble door coming into finally if you apply De Morgan's theorem?
9 gate.
What will be the output of that bubbled OR finally? Will it be an upright pulse, or it will be a lower going pulse?
So it will be upwards.
But I require this negative going pulse, because during write I require active low as well as for the buffer.
So like if anyone is low, I want low output, right?
Right.
Or we can use AND gate, right? 3 input AND gate.
Yes, that will be just a 3 input AND gate. So it is just conversion of the positive logic into negative logic. You remember perhaps that OR will become AND. So what we need to do, that is something extra at the simulation. We are actually, what should I say? We are getting rid of lot of efforts by using this simulator. If we have done in this lab, there will be so many loose connections and other things. Troubleshooting will take half of the time. Here we are actually getting rid of that, but there is another penalty. I think we have to pay price because of this ideality, etc. So what we need to do when we are making this strobe signal, so we may actually connect after this inverter, we may put 2 buffers. And finally, we may have an AND gate, a 3 input AND gate, to generate the strobe signal.
So instead of using the inverter, can't we like remove the inverter and simply use a NOR gate instead of an AND gate?
That you try. Okay, so I have not tried it myself, but instead of the inverter, what you say you will connect?
We just remove the inverter and in place of AND we just use NOR.
Just check out, because here actually there is another what should I say, another tick delay. So then once again it may not synchronize, so you may require a longer delay in that case. Maybe a 4 input gate might be necessary. So I'm not sure actually, but I use this and finally it worked, that it has stretched that one. So if I feed that signal which is generated from that ASCII strobe into 2, I mean, where I am supposed to feed? I am supposed to feed it at the enable as well as in the